read by Flavia Carolina Wagabe, who is the chairperson of the league, and at the same time the woman member of parliament of Kasanda district, and IPU representative. COVID-19 pandemic, where is the justice? The National Unity Platform Women League commends you all for your commitment towards battling COVID-19. We do sincerely commiserate with those that have contracted the disease, either in the line of duty or other ways. We also sympathize with those that have lost their loved ones. We pray for healing for the sick, for those who have we pray for healing for the sick, and for those who have departed, we pray for their souls to rest in peace. For the frontline workers like nurses, medics, and the women at home giving care to those managing the disease who have departed as heroes, may they remain an inspiration to us. On another note, we remain disturbed, deeply concerned and disappointed by the fact that there are reports of impunity and gross mismanagement of COVID-19 funds. We are even angrier that some of the leaders at the heart of these scandals are women. As women in the National Unity Platform and as women of Uganda, we gather here today to raise our voices and concerns against the inhuman blunders and scandals culminating from recklessness of the government. We come to seek solutions to the glaring gaps, health quagmire, the laxity and incompetence of the authorities in power, especially the Ministry of Health and the Executive. As a country, we are now in the second wave of the pandemic and also a second lockdown. The country is experiencing a harrowing surge in COVID-19 infections, and the nation is going through a stressful period of the pandemic as COVID turns the world upside down. Now, this gloomy reality is the more reason as to why the Women League in the NUP is looking to Cabinet and Parliament for leadership. Today, we reflect on the gender-unique aspects of the pandemic and the attendant consequences it poses to women and girls of Uganda. We are wondering, who is fooling who? Without a doubt, the COVID-19 pandemic has aggravated the gap between women and men, while also making it more challenging for governments around the world to devise strategies of addressing the challenges faced by the female gender caused by the crisis. It is common knowledge that women and girls suffer mostly during crises, especially in a crisis as unique as this one. There is evidence to the effect that lockdowns increase harmful practices against women and girls, such as child marriages, teenage pregnancies, risky sexual behaviors, leading to sexual exploitation and partner violence, with more women and girls affected. Women failing to access critical sexual and reproductive health care, maternity challenges, among others, as government enforces SOPs. The situation is dire. Women and girls of Uganda, we cannot breathe. Furthermore, women are more likely to experience mental and emotional strains of the lockdown more than men. Also, the caretaking roles make women more susceptible to catching the virus more than the men. If our country is to ensure that the productivity, livelihoods, and quality of life of our women is to the required standard, government should think outside the box and devise the specific gender interventions. The almost non-existent food security plans risks Ugandans getting malnourished, especially children and expectant mothers. People suffering from other diseases now fear to go to hospitals and health centers for fear of catching COVID-19. This is even more worrying. As women of NUP, we are here to ask these pertinent questions affecting Ugandans, especially the women and girls. 1. Where did the vaccination money go? Money for 18 million vaccines was released by Parliament to buy vaccines but not a single vaccine was procured up to now. We have only received donations from India and France. So where did the money go? Instead of taking action, we are incurring more debt from the IMF and World Bank to solve problems that could have been addressed by responsive leadership. We are plunging Ugandans into debt, another pandemic whose impact we will bear for time to come. There have been cries by medical workers about lack of PPEs, with some even laying down tools we saw in Masindi and in other areas. How does government expect them to do their work? Most of these are women. Our medics must not be turned into beggars. Can we respond to the practical needs of our health workers? Because as it is right now, we have extremely vulnerable medics. Are Ugandans worth dying like dogs at the hands of government? Hospital prices are hiked. 5 million shillings per day in private for treatment. COVID testing, 250,000 shillings, around 300, not below 100,000 shillings for testing. Vulnerable poor Ugandans are dying in homes without access to these medical facilities. How many women and girls can afford these costs? 3, who bewitched our national planners? With regards to allocation of resources in the national budget, tiny coins were allocated to the Ministry of Health, whereas the lion's share was allocated to security. Money was squandered in tear gas, always, yet we lack oxygen in hospitals. We have more cabinet ministers now than ICU beds and oxygen cylinders. Unfortunately, we have taken note of the cutting of the allocation to the health sector by 9.3%, from Uganda shillings 2.781 trillion in the financial year 2020-2021 to Uganda shillings 2.523 trillion in the financial year 2021-2022. We have also noted keenly the sad development of the reduced budgetary allocations to the sectors of WASH, water, sanitation and hygiene, and the JLOS, justice, law and order sector. These are the sectors that have a direct bearing on the livelihoods of women, and reducing allocation to them is a slap in the face of gender-sensitive budgeting, threatening to erode the gains we have been making towards ensuring our budgets are more gender responsive. Funding to the health sector in this pandemic is particularly appropriate because the impact of the pandemic have widened the existing inequalities that girls were already experiencing due to their gender around access to education and health care, particularly menstrual hygiene management. A study conducted by Plan International shows that rates of violence against women and girls are increasing while GBV is rising, and sexual and reproductive health services are becoming harder to access due to the COVID-19 pandemic. 4, the increased cases of GBV as evidenced in Uganda Police Crime Report 2020 of 29,073 incidences reported. How has the government planned to deal with this? We know that government does not budget for peace. Yet domestic violence is more common among women and girls, with men as the majority perpetrators. For how long shall Ugandans wait for the promised money by the Prime Minister? Should Ugandans die of hunger or COVID-19? Noting that a person survives only 7 days without food. So how many lives have we lost so far? Aren't these hunger deaths more overwhelming than COVID deaths? Are we safe? About 95% of our population relies on the informal sector. Many women are in the informal sector and they live day to day. How has the government planned for them? Only about 5% can exploit their savings. The rest of the population may die of hunger, either due to hunger or bullets in a protest of the lockdown. Because if they protest, this will spark violence from the dictator shall lose many lives, inevitably. Otherwise, right now we only have one option, either to die by hunger, or COVID, or by bullets. Either way, this is all death to the Uganda. Which measures has government taken to punish the embezzlers vindicated in the Prime Minister's office and Ministry of Health, according to the Auditor General's report? Money was released to procure oxygen cylinders, ICU beds, among others. Up to now, nothing has been procured. Where is this money? How were the vindicated corrupt officials brought to book? Is our government sleeping or snoring? The government has constantly kept a blind eye to the injustices and atrocities and shame confronted by the desperate, vulnerable, but also hungry Ugandans. What has the Parliament of Uganda done to address the concerns facing Ugandans right now? I guess Honorable Joyce will answer that. This is so clear that there are gross injustices and discrimination as the government plans for Ugandans. Today, we the women of the National Unity Platform are here to non-violently defend Mother Uganda and her people from the numerous injustices imposed on them as the pandemic ravages on. As mothers of this nation, we cannot remain silent. Together, we demand for accountability and transparency. As NUP Women League, these are our demands. 1, that the women at the front line of the COVID struggle, wherever they are, be more exemplary. 2, to the national women leaders, if you have been named in a corruption scandal,